Every country owns a large amount of small and medium manufacturing companies. So these are in short also called as SMMs. So these SMMs will have not more than 50 to 100 employees working in their companies. So what exactly these industries faces? These manufacturing owners, okay, will always expect a fast payback compared to a very big firms. And those manufacturers who are present there, we cannot make a set of employees who work on the night shifts or a repetitive shifts so that they can have their productivity line. Instead, they try to redeploy the same workers the next day so that they have a very minimal wages and capital is very effectively burned out. When it comes to the repetitiveness of the jobs will be very boring and sometimes even very dangerous. So how do you exactly help these kind of small manufacturing industries with automation? Collaborative robots are a very trending technology in robotics industry. So what exactly the term collaborative robot means? So that doesn't mean that they are going to replace humans like a traditional automation tasks. Few of the automation tasks does like replacing humans for a few jobs, but collaborative robots are for those who work along with humans. It means they work alongside of humans in some specific applications. So coming to the different types of collaborative robots, the most common types that you find in industry: a fixed base collaborative robot, where the robot's base is always fixed at some particular point in a production ray of manufacturing or some particular product. So when it comes to mobile base, this can be some kind of a movable base where the robot which is having a cobot fixed on it can move from one point to another point or wandering in your particular industry. When it comes to wearable, it is very similar to that of exoskeleton cobots, so which are helpful for few different applications. For example, let us try to assume that you are plucking fruits and you want to pluck fruits as early as possible because you have most of them and you want to make the job of plucking fruits within 10 or 15 minutes in your entire farm. Then what if you have more than 4 or 3 hands, right? So these exoskeletons are having a very far different applications when compared to the first two traditional kind of applications. So when it comes to wearable or exoskeleton kinds of cobots, they have multiple functionalities and these are very difficult in design because they own a very complex design structures, because they have to be compact and they should also be wearable. Here we have a different applications. The common, very common applications that you find in cobots are something like this: a machine tending task. This is a very common application of automation in industry. So what exactly is machine tending? The best example is, for example, if you have a CNC machine which is printing some kind of what you call design or some particular product. So in that CNC machine, or if you want to cut some part, you should always or humans in that industry has to always dump the raw material into that CNC machine, the raw metal or material that you are giving to that CNC machine as a food. Okay, so these cobots in that industry can have a capability of loading the raw materials by the time it ends, so that your production line will not stop once the material is coming to an end. So these kind of automations are called machine tending tasks. When it comes to adaptive assembly is very similar to that of a nut and bolt task. What exactly I mean by nut and bolt? So you have a car industry and or automobile industry or any small bike industry or anything, and or else you are trying to manufacture some small nut and bolt enabled mechanical devices for a home consumer needs. Then you need to fix the screws at some particular point, or you need to tighten the nut and bolt at each and every point once that particular part is being manufactured. So what exactly happens here? The design is almost same unless and until the production has been shifted towards another product. So a person, whoever is doing the job always completely on 8 hours a day in an industry, will be very tough to do this kind of adaptive assemblies. So these kind of things can be replaced with cobots, which can do it very efficiently and in a shorter period of time. And then it comes to inspection of parts and products. When it comes to inspection, it's all about how the product is manufactured, whether there is any damage on the part, whether there is some kind of missing parts, or is there any some kind of alignment issues in the product. So all these kinds of things will come into inspection of a product or parts or byproducts. So these cobots with some kind of area scanners and cameras will help us to do that inspection go very perfectly compared to that of a human. So welding is well-known application of robots, and when it comes to cobots, they are especially used for arc welding and spot welding. So there is a very big problem for SMMs or small and medium manufacturers when it comes to welding. There are very few certified welders available in the market, and there is a shortage of them. So when there is a shortage of them, when we use cobots for welding a spot and arc welding kind of objectives, it becomes very easy for them to replace that particular person with this cobot so that their production don't stop if the person is not available, right? When it comes to packaging and shipping, it's all about checking whether the package of it completely done well without any damage inside, or the barcode is being fixed in the perfect place, or do you have the tapes done to all the sides. So many issues. It's not about a simple point. Depends upon the industry. The packaging also has a very big process. So there are few cases where cobots will sit in place so that your packaging will never ever be late. So the faster these applications, the faster the product will come out. So there are many challenges similarly with cobots, irrespective of their applications and types. There are few challenges. For example, you are manufacturing a cobot and I am a buyer of a cobot from your company. So how do I feel exactly is what the three major challenges that a manufacturer is facing at this moment. The first one, you come to me, tell me that, sir, this particular cobot will do all this kind of applications which will fasten your production line and which will also help your workers to do it in a very soft and efficient way. Then, without any certain success story of these cobots being adopted, I will not be in a position to take it up, because I already have some kind of traditional resources. Without you showing me a success for my particular industry who already adopted, it becomes very difficult for me to trust and adopt it. So it means certain success will definitely help few industries to adopt, and few industries who haven't explored into robotics, especially cobots, will become very tough to them. When it comes to the second point, we need a dedicated programmer, because these cobots for few specific tasks will need a very special or a complex programming sections that are involved. So a small difficulty or some kind of problems faced at that moment should definitely have an in-house or an industry programmer who is present who could help them to solve the problem in and there. So having a dedicated programmer is again a difficult task, where I don't have any programmers at this moment in my industry. How can I use this, and if there is some problem, who's going to help me out within the time? And the next important one is integration and implementation. So what do I mean by I square or integration and implementation here? If I want to adopt it, I should definitely have the workspace allotted to it very correctly, and I should also have my people being trained to take the objects coming from the cobots for the next task. So it means the training of the already a predefined workers is something where integrating cobots with them, and implementing is getting in routine work with them. So integration and implementation is something like a timely task. It takes some time to get adopted to it, but still SMMs will feel this as a very important task. Why? Because they always target on fast paybacks. They want returns as much fast as possible. So having a small problem with timeline is a very big issue for them. There are a few limitations of cobots as well. Let us see. The first one is speed as a very biggest drawback of most of the cobots. So what do I mean by speed? The speed of picking, the speed of placing, the speed of doing the task repetitively more and more faster is a very difficult task with cobots. Why? Because they are slow in nature. When it comes to traditional automation, these are a little slow. So it means speed is a problem with cobots. And the second one, reach and payload. When they are compact in size, we have to compromise on payload. When you try to make this payload as a very good factor in your cobot, you need to compromise on reach. Reach here means that the point at which the tip of the tool can do a maximum. So it means the maximum workspace that your tip of the tool can go ahead. So these kind of problems will affect few SMMs, not everyone, but few SMMs will be affected by reach and payload as a very difficult drawback to them. And the third one, when it comes to dangerous tasks, so if your cobot is doing or operating in some particular very difficult situation, like where there is a lot of temperature, or where there is some kind of wood cutting or some kind of fast cuttings of machines happening, so at this moment, if your cobot is assisting you in that moment, so if the cobot is not having a proper infrastructure to also bear if it is going to get hurt by any chance, the cobot will be affected. So it means proper infrastructure to operate in dangerous conditions is a very drawback. Simple cobot is not at all useful to handle some kind of dangerous tasks. And people really adopt robots because they feel that we are not safe to operate at that particular point. We should definitely have a machine. So if your machine is lacking with some kind of infrastructure, then that's a problem to them. So this is what all about cobots, which help these SMMs who are small in size, expecting faster paybacks, and also do not have workers who work on shifts to get their maximum product line.